In this video, we're going to go through Brobench Query Builder feature and how to use it and its capabilities. Let's get going. To navigate to the Query Builder, you would go to the Query module and it will show the editor by default and along with the additional tab here called Builder. So when you go to the Builder, you would see the Query Builder. So some important elements, UI elements. On the top left, you have an object and the field selection panel. On the right side, you have a where class, order by, and generated SOQL viewer. And at the bottom, it's going to show the results. Okay, so let's build a simple SOQL with one or two fields, and then go a little bit more deeper into how to use this individual feature. Okay, to get started, you can select an object. Okay, and then when you select an object, it's going to show all the fields. And then you can select one or two fields. Okay, and then you can click on here. And then you can select where condition. So let's say in this case, I want to see where account number is null. So if you leave everything blank, it's going to treat that as a null. And then you can add an order by if you want to, or other options like a limit and the offset, so on and so forth. And then you can go ahead and execute it. And it's going to show the results here. Okay. You can add child fields. For example, in this case, I can navigate to the parent fields about this particular account and then select it, and then it'll add to the it'll add to the query generated SOQL. And similarly, you can also select child fields, and then it will appropriately construct the SOQL. Then you can go ahead and run it. And then Brobench has a great way of displaying the parent and the child, so you can see all the child fields for a particular record together. Okay, so that is a simple way to execute. Okay, to go select the object of your liking, and then select one or two fields, specify any where condition or order by or the limits, and then execute it. Okay, so that's a simple use case. So let's go to a little bit more detailed analysis of each of these. Okay, so here, for example, we show all the fields of a selected object and the corresponding relationship fields. You can filter for particular field. Let's say I want to see picklist fields. You can send to that, and then it will shortlist only the picklist fields. Or you can enter any that will match all the text that is shown on the label. For example, let's say I want to show this accuracy, so it's going to see that field. Okay. You can also refresh to fetch the latest metadata from the server. So let's say if you have added the Brobench caches the metadata for for optimizing and then for performance, and also to avoid unnecessary API calls to the Salesforce org, so that sometimes that metadata get out of date. And then in this case, you can refresh. It'll for this particular base object, it's gonna fetch all of that, refresh all of that fields. You can use this filter to hide and show some of the fields. Let's say, for example, you don't care about child fields, you can hide them completely. So it just reduces some complexity in the server. And then you can hide the standard fields, the custom fields, or the package or the system fields, so on and so forth. You can use this to minimize the tree. For example, as you expanded here, you might want to click on this minus. That will actually collapse all the trees nodes. You can use this to reset selected fields, so that basically unselects all the fields and brings it back to the initial state if you want to start over your query selection or a field selection rather. Okay. And then we have these settings, and we'll come back to the settings a little bit later, how to handle each one of those. Okay, so that is about a little bit more about the field selection and how to select the fields. Okay. In the order by, so you can select all type of fields. For example, in this case, let's have selected text fields, and it shows all the available operations. We also try to provide a few enhanced operations. For example, contains is not an operation in SODC, but whatever you type, that will be we generate a like clause, just a more human-friendly operators. Similarly, that does not contain like and the not like. That's your standard like. In this case, you would have to enter your own the wildcard match, however that you want it to be. Uh, and then we have a not like. It just adds the syntax. It's a little bit tricky to remember that. And then similarly starts with and then ends with. Okay, those features. So the available operators change based on the available based on the type of field. For example, if it is a date field, we have an extensive set of capabilities how we want to select the field. For example, we have a picker. It allows you to pick a value from the date picker, or you can say you want a literal that you want to use. You can use any of these Salesforce literals, including the n literals, where you would be prompted to enter n value. For example, n quarters ago, by default it defaults to 1, but if you want more, you can specify that. Or you can also specify relative input. So the relative input is you specify the date in terms of the relative to the current timestamp. Let's say that I want to query all the created date less than 5 minutes. You can say minus 5 m. So in this case, it's going to take the current time and then subtract 5 minutes, and then it's going to output that value. So you can specify multiple of them and see the documentation for a full capability or a full syntax of that. But that is a relative. And then raw input in this case, it prompts you to enter the input that actually goes into SFDC. You can enter in ISO format because that is a format that accepted by Salesforce. Okay. So if it is a pick list, it'll show the pick list values. Right? You can select one like this, and then if it is in, it means you'll be able to select multiple of them. Okay. In case of the not in and the contains, you'll be again the same thing. You'll be prompted to enter the string that's going to match. Okay, so it provides those capabilities for you to easily construct. And you can select a number field, and for the number field, it provides the same greater than symbol and whatever is accepted. And if it is a multi-pick list, okay, so you would see that appropriate operators accepted by the multi-pick list. It supports only equals, not equals, include, excludes, in, and the not in operators. Okay, so you have quite extensive or reliable set of operators based on the type of the field that you have selected. Okay. So when you're selecting field, for example, in this case, let's say I want to add a field, you can select multiple of them, okay, and then select all of them together. So it's going to add all of them in one go, okay, if you want to use that. Um, so when you are building the query expression, you can also add additional expression groups. So let's go reset and then just make it easy to select one additional expression, account source. Okay, so this one, right? So you can add account source again, for example, let's say. So you'll be able to select, this one, this and condition, and this are. Let's say account number is null, but account source is, let's say I want it to be foo or foo3. So you can do like this. So it'll construct the parentheses, the inner where class expressions by this particular type. And it is smart enough that if we add another expression, it'll actually switch between what was there in the parent. So in this case, the parent was and, so the child is added as R, but the parent is R, and then child as an and. But of course, you can manually change to whatever that you want, and then the query will be appropriately constructed. Okay. Um, so this is about the way class, and then we do have this. If you want to delete a particular field, you can click on this delete. That will delete that field. But if you want to delete the whole group, like a one expression group, you can click on that delete next to that expression operator, and then that will delete the whole group. Okay, you can also delete the final field, and in this case, there is no where condition. You can also use, if you want to delete all of them together, let's say you have added multiple expression groups and all that, you can click on this. That will reset the whole thing back to the initial state. Okay, so that you can, if you want to get started, you can do that. So that is about where condition selection in Brobench. The next step is order by. It's pretty straightforward. So you can add one or more fields, and then you can select them, and then you can select parent fields. Keep in mind it only shows what is sortable. So whatever the fields you see is something that you can include in the order by class. And when you select it, it'll add appropriately. And then you select the order, whether you want an ascending order or a descending order. And then you can also choose null first or a null last. By default, null first. That's how the SOQL works, but you can change to null last if you want to. So once you constructed all of them, and then you can go and execute it, and it should show the results. Okay. So when you see this, there is an execute button here, right? There is you can copy if you want. Let's say if you want to copy this text, you can copy, or if you want to copy this into editor to continue to edit it or make changes, or if you want to keep that as part of the editor, you can say copy to editor. In this case, it will copy that text to the editor and keep focuses on that. You can edit this generated SOQL. Okay, for example, let's say auto by. Let's say I don't want it. You can edit it. But keep in mind, anytime you make any changes, then that particular change is going to get overwritten with the latest generated one. So there are multiple ways to execute it. You can just click on this, and then that will execute the query. So you can also click on this execute, and then it'll run the same query, but it provides additional options as with the editor. It provides the same option that you can use with, for example, let's say you want to run with, you can run as a count query, you can run it as a count query, or you can run it as via bulk API if you want to, you can run them. Okay. So to run option to include the deleted fields. So in the other option, so we have some other way. You can choose the available scope for this object, or you can set the limit, okay, or you can set the offset, or you can also choose include deleted. So in this case, when you click on execute, that will be executed to include deleted. Okay. Um, so we have a few other capabilities that we want to explore. So one is that, so we have a settings that actually provides some ways to, okay, so let's go and delete the order by. Okay. If you go to the settings, so you see some options that are pretty valuable. First one is a default object. So we default to last used, but just for the testing purpose, we have set to none. So when you select an object, next time you go to the builder, that object is automatically selected. Okay. But you can also specify a specific object if you want to. You don't want this. Let's say you always start with a query buying some specific object, account, contact, whatever. Even if you change the object, you want to go back to that, you can specify the object. So the next time it'll initialize that object by default. Okay, so auto add fields. So this tells you to automatically add some of the fields without even selecting them. For example, you can say add ID fields, name. It's in a quote, it means it's not exactly the name, but name like fields like a subject or a label or a case number. Those kind of fields, name like fields get added. This is the owner information. This is the record type information for the record, the created info and the modified info. And we do have a capability to add a history, child SOQL into the query. So if you want to, you can enable that. Most of the time, when you are constructing a new query, you want to experiment it, and you don't want to issue a query for against an object that has, hundreds of thousands of records, right? That's gonna really be messy. Querying all the data, it may trigger a lot of alerts and unnecessarily going to bring all the data into your system. So instead of that, you can specify, hey, always specify the limit. Okay, so the next time you go to the builder, this limit is applied so that you build something and run, it's going to bring only these number of records. But of course, you can go and change it after you opened it, but it starts with that particular limit. And we do have a capability to identify how the fields are displayed. As you can see that, the parent and the child fields, they were shown together. Sorry, the core and the parent fields. But you can say all together. In this case, all the core, parent, and the child, they're shown together, sorted alphabetically. Or you can say all separated then in this case, the core fields are shown first, parent fields are shown next, and then the child fields. Okay, for example, let's go back and select the all together and then see how it shows. So if you go back here, okay, so let's see, enable the child fields. So you can see that the parent and the child, they are shown together, sorted alphabetically. But if you go and say all separated, so the parent and the child, the core and the core fields are shown first for an object, and then the parent fields, and then the child fields. Okay, so you can expand, and then the same thing happens in the next level as well. The core fields are shown first, and then the parent fields, and then the child fields. So if you can notice that in the parent and the child, they have some convention. So P stands for the parent, and they are ordered the colored orange. And then a C stands for child, they ordered green. Okay, and then you have a number, so that's a level of that particular child is in, or that particular relationship is in. For example, let's say you are created by, you are in the level 1, but if you go and expand, look at other parent fields in this level, you'd be able to see that it's a P2 because they're the second level of the hierarchy. And similarly, if you go and expand it, you would see the P3, that's for the third level. So like that, you can go up to 5 levels. That's a standard Salesforce limit. Okay. Um, so the next up, so we talked about this, and so there is a help here. You can click on it, and then that's gonna bring the help, and you'll be able to search for it, so understand it. And then you can, if you want to select different object, you can go and select different object, and then you'll be able to um, see the details for that. And then your query is going to reinitialize, right? All the things is going to reset and all that. Okay. Yeah. So this is about Query Builder. I hope you guys like it, and let us know what capabilities that we can add here to make it to make it to build the queries as easy as possible. Thank you.